bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes, el presidente de esa mejor cerveza. No abate por no filter network. Miguelito San Dieguito y Will the Thrill Clark not with us today. But as we do each and every single morning when we come on here, we properly salute our boys, dead or alive, and each and every one of you. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you on the 17th day of October 2024. Today's Daily Hustle email that just recently went out is titled 17 years ago today. Now just give me a second to properly find it. And hold on, did I say 17 years ago today? I don't know where my head is. That would be 35 years ago today. Okay. Buenos dias. Today is October 17th. That is where the 17 comes in. 35 years ago today at 5:04 p.m. Pacific time, the Loma Prieta earthquake rocked the San Francisco Bay Area, causing the Bay Bridge to collapse and the World Series between the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland A's to be put on hold for over a week. Daily Hustle quote of the day. There was a deep rumble, deep and terrible, and then I could see it actually coming up Washington Street. The whole street was undulating. It was as if the waves of the ocean were coming towards me, billowing as they came. Daily Hustle translation. As a 13-year-old kid, I was playing wiffle ball, getting ready for the start of Game 3 of the World Series, when it literally looked like a gigantic set of waves came rolling through the ground. So much so that my friends and I actually pretended like we were surfing, and at one point had to put our hands on the ground just to maintain balance. We laughed it off, then went inside my buddy's house to watch the start of the game. The electricity was out, so I hopped on my banana yellow rock hopper, I miss that thing, and raced home. Yet, when I got home, we didn't have any electricity either, and our house was an absolute wreck. Pictures and art had fallen off the walls, and much of the furniture had tumbled over. With night falling, no electricity, and no working phone lines, I did what any sensible kid would do. He grabbed the transistor radio, fired on KNBR in hopes of not missing a single pitch. That's when I figured out the Bay Bridge, Cypress Viaduct, and Nimitz Freeway had all collapsed. The marina was on fire, and they had canceled Game 3 of the World Series. Figuring I had no clue where my parents and sister were, it was definitely scary shit. Eventually, my family came home, but for many others, that wasn't the case. As tragic as the next several hours and days were, they also can certainly be as inspiring as first responders and civilians came together to perform massive search and rescue missions all over the Bay. Because of these heroic efforts, several people were freed from the rubble and many lives were saved. In total, the 6.9 tremor caused 63 deaths, almost 4,000 injuries, and $7 billion in damage. That's 15 B's in today's money, by the way. We will all deal with different variations of tragedies and natural disasters throughout the course of our lifetimes. Many of these events are outside of our human control, and there's absolutely nothing we can do to prevent them. That said, each and every one of us has a choice of how we are going to respond. And as a native San Francisco Bay Area kid, I'm grateful for the experience that strengthened my character and all of the courageous rescue workers who didn't just tell us what to do. They got in the fucking trenches and showed us. EB. So, yeah, that was quite the time. I think that none of us realized the magnitude, pun intended, I guess, of what had transpired. Earthquakes were something that were pretty commonplace and obviously still are in that San Francisco Bay Area. We lived right on the San Andreas Fault, which is the fault line. And I was actually, I don't know, I mean, within a mile less of that fault line. And the earthquake was centered in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And it was funny because I was reading about it this morning. Actually, nothing funny about this, but I was reading about it this morning, and I've never realized all the damage that took place outside of San Francisco. Right, so much of it was focused on San Francisco and Oakland, but there were so many other spots in the Bay Area, including like Los Gatos and the Santa Cruz Mountains, where I mean, homes were completely destroyed, brick buildings just crushed to fucking rubble. And there was one story where they're saying that something had happened. I don't want to, forgive me if I get this a little wrong, but this was in Santa Cruz and a building had collapsed and people were trapped. The police officers were actually arresting people who stopped searching. And I love this story. And basically, if you were going to be out and you were going to be there, and I think this was the point of it, then you better fucking get to work and search. And so there were some people, I don't know if they were just onlookers or bystanders or whatever, that weren't. And so they actually arrested people. But it just goes to show you, look, when fucking something just so extreme like that hits, you never know how people are going to react. And it was interesting because I'd mentioned, with the latest Hurricane Milton, I had been in a couple hurricanes back in New York. And one of the hurricanes, that I was in, it was two things. It was cool because Staten Island got fucking decimated. And it was cool to see. Oh, first of all, it was disturbing to see the lack of resources that were sent to Staten Island, right? And then it was cool to see the way the Staten Island community rallied around each other. It was also kind of weird in a way because I'm stuck in the city. I have no electricity, no running water, like all these things. And you see people get desperate. And certainly everybody reacts differently. I think overall, I have a lot of faith in the human race and people. And that was one of the things I'll never forget, those images of just bystanders, on the Bay Bridge or on the 880, just moving big pieces of concrete, doing whatever they could do to try to help and try to get these people that were trapped. So that was 35 years ago today. And of course, the World Series was canceled. That was game 3. 8 days later, it resumed. The A's, I believe, went down to Scottsdale. The Giants stayed in the San Francisco Bay Area, helped with a lot of the recovery efforts. I don't know what the right thing would have been, right? Like if you're running a team, you're like, man, let's get some space, let's get out of here. Yet at the same time, you want to help. And they came back. The A's finished off the sweep of the San Francisco Giants, and that was that. Last night, it was the Los Angeles Dodgers taking a 2-1 series lead behind Walker Buehler and 3 big bombs. The first from Kike Enrique Hernandez. You just can't make this shit up with this guy. It seems like every October he finds himself in the spotlight. I really like him. I enjoy his personality, and people were giving him shit for the comment the other night when Ken Rosenthal asked him, like, hey, why are you guys able to have this success? He's like, honestly, Ken, like, are we live? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, screw it. He goes, we just don't give a fuck. And that's the attitude I think that it takes, number one, to overcome not only that Dodger team, the Padre team and the Padre fan base. That Padre fan base was as electric as I've ever seen. And Kike even mentioned it last night. He's like, yo, we coming to New York. This is nothing. It is genuine hatred between the Padres and the Dodgers and their fan bases. I think there's a lot that stems from that. You could even go so far as to say that you have San Diego fans, former Charger fans, that are burnt by the fact that the Chargers moved to LA, the long-standing rivalry, the fact that the Padres are somewhat seen as the little redheaded stepchild to the Dodgers, or whatever, or however you want to put it. That rivalry is very real, and there's a lot of emotion there. You obviously had Manny Machado and throwing the ball in. Look, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I do feel like in some ways the Padres were trying to bully the Dodgers. And you have these superstar players in Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani that are just great guys. And they weren't interested in getting in this, whatever war of words or having bad blood or animosity. They're just like, look, man, we're great baseball players. We're going to go out there and kick the shit out of you. And that's it. Well, in order to do that, like Kike Hernandez said, you can't really give a fuck. You can't give a fuck about the antics of the Padres or fan base, anybody else. You literally put your blinders on. You march straight ahead. You don't worry about the injuries. You know the next man up mentality is always going to work. And you have faith in your teammates and your organization. And so far, that's what the Dodgers have done. They got blown out in game 2 by the Mets. Everybody worried about it. I read a whole article yesterday about how the Mets are now favored. And I'm like, really? And then something interesting happened. The Mets were actually favored for the game yesterday. And then that switched. Walker Buehler had been getting hit. I get it. I could understand how and why someone would want to say the Mets were favored, say maybe yesterday or maybe even for the series. But the more you look into it, and the fact that the Dodgers had their entire bullpen set, ready to go to do the shit that they've been doing, which is just one consecutive scoreless inning after another, there's a certain amount of guys within that bullpen that are lights out. And then when they got, a handful of quality innings from Walker Buehler last night, it was over. But it was Kike Hernandez with the bomb, backed up with Shohei Ohtani, the 3-run shot. Kike's was a 2-run, and then Max Muncy to finish it off. Shohei Ohtani. This stat just does not seem real to me. 17 for his past 20 with runners in scoring position. Oh, man. Now, everyone's going to come back with, at least the Dodger haters are, and Ohtani haters, oh, yeah, well, he's 0 for his past 22 with nobody on base. I don't give a fuck. You guys realize it's easier to hit with nobody on base. When runners are on base, the pitcher's really bearing down trying to get you out. Now, the thing about Ohtani and what this statistic actually tells me, and those stats during the regular season were even. He hit the same as he did with runners on base as he did with runners not on base during the regular season. Now, in the postseason, this makes sense. And the reason being is that pitchers are not going to fuck with him when nobody's on base. They're going to pitch around him. And so what they're getting Ohtani to do is chase when nobody's on base. When people are on base and there's nowhere to put Ohtani, the pitcher is now forced to go at him even more. They try to be too fine, they make mistakes, and he takes advantage of that mistake as he did last night. So, again, I don't think this has ever happened in the history of Major League Baseball. There's no fucking way. There's just no way that someone's been 17 for their past 20. It's a stat that is as mind-blowing as any stat that I've ever heard in my entire life. Max Muncy. I mean, this dude, another big postseason homer. The Max Muncy's and the Kike Hernandez's of the world. If you're kind of an everyday average guy, you gotta love these guys. I mean, Max Muncy looks like he should be a fucking plumber. He should be working on the construction site across the street here. Like, he's not supposed to be this big, powerful slugger dropping bombs every October. That doesn't make sense. Well, the guy got released 10 years ago by the A's, and he's still doing it. Still doing it. So, I mean, let's give him a little bit of credit. All right, let's take a look at the games. We have The New York Yankees at the Cleveland Indians, ALCS Game 3. This starts at 2:08 p.m. Pacific time. Damn, that's early. And then at 5:08 p.m. Pacific time, it is the Los Angeles Dodgers at the New York Mets. For the Yankees game, it's going to be Schmidt against Boyd. And the Dodgers is Yamamoto against Quintana, who Quintana has been pretty good. Let's go to the Action website to check the latest lines on both of these games and see where the money is going. It is the New York Yankees favored. Interesting. Minus 118. That's despite Schmidt, who has a 2.85 ERA, and Boyd 2.72 ERA. They were both 500 on the year. The OU in this game is 7. I've liked the overs, and the overs have been hitting, by the way. Took the over in the Dodgers game last night. Took the over in the Yankees game the night before. Both of those hitting. I don't know. Who do you like? Let's look at the expert picks. You have one expert pick here on the Action website on Cleveland. 2 expert picks on the under, 1 on the over. Sharp action is coming in on the Cleveland Indians. I do like that. I mean, you're getting value there. You're basically even money on a game that I think you have a little bit of an advantage. Anything else that stands out? Not much. Okay. Yeah, I think tonight I like the Guardians. Shit's come too easy for the Yankees. They're good. If anything, I like the over in that. One of the statistics that I had heard that really keeps me bullish on the Yankees offense. Going into the last game in the postseason, they had struck out, I think it was 37 times, and they walked 34. I mean, talk about a recipe for success. That is next level. And then in the Dodgers game tonight, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I think I like the home teams. The Dodgers minus 135. At even money, I like the Dodgers. At slight underdogs, I like the Dodgers. At minus 135, I do not. The Mets plus 115 tonight. Quintana's been good. Yamamoto, we just don't know what we're going to get. He was certainly good in Game 5. And you'd like to think he'd be able to repeat that performance as he had against San Diego. Yeah, so there's 11 picks here, expert picks. A lot of them going to the New York Mets on the money line. The other, there's one here going on the under. I don't know. I'm not big on the fuck. I hate taking unders anyway. I mean, look at all the scores in the game on the first 3 games. It's 9-0. 3-7, 8-0. So they've all been blowouts. But remember this. Well, it's not even remember this. There's been at least 8 runs scored in every one of these games. The Mets offense is bound to break out as well. At least you'd like to think so. So that'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific time tonight. Look out for the alternative broadcast at any point. I could fire up a stream and get this thing rolling. Okay, some news around Major League Baseball. Let's see if there's anything that, no coincidence, the 7 best players of 2020s all play today. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of fun. So the most WAR since 2020. This is pretty cool. And this is how you would want it if you're Major League Baseball. So according to the statistic, wins above replacement, the top 7 players since 2020 are number 7, Mookie Betts, 24.9 in the WAR department. Number 6, Francisco Lindor, 25.4 in the WAR department. Number 5, Freddie Freeman, 26.4. Number 4, Jose Ramirez, 26.6. Number 3, Juan Soto, 27.1. Number 2, Aaron Judge, 33.4. And the best player since 2020, according to wins above replacement, Shohei fucking Ohtani, 35. And that is his combined pitching and hitting, of course. So there it is. Every one of those players playing today. If you're MLB, that's how you want to draw it up. So looking forward to a great day of baseball. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your day. If you're concerned about the weather here in the greater Lake Tahoe area or around the country with all of our listeners, we are international, of course, because John Manuel Ramos Henderson in Makati City. Currently, right now, 45 degrees in Truckee, a high of 47. Cloudy conditions all day. Half Moon Bay, California, 60 degrees, high of 64, low of 52 for Giuseppe Pepe Manuele. New York City, all of my crew out there, Am Singer, Reynolds, and the boys, 57 degrees, high of 60, low of 42. So in New York should be a nice night for baseball as those temps get near 60. Kowalski in Phoenix, 76 degrees. Michelle Drew, good morning to you, by the way. 88 is going to be the high. Auburn, Montgomery's and crew. Griffin, 60 degrees, high is 69. Duluth, Minnesota. Hello, Gene. Where have you been? 56 degrees, high is 64. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Hey, Mo. Sunny, 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 high is 62. San Mateo, California. Gary Tagliafico. Where's Tagliafico been? High is 67 today out in the Bay. Las Vegas, Nevada. We're heading there for a tournament this weekend. High of 84. Currently 74 degrees. Savannah, Georgia, land of the Platino. 63 degrees, high of 66, low of 44. Fresno, the Batoyans. 65 degrees, high of 78. So a beautiful day there in the Central Valley in Buckwheat and Bakersfield. 68 degrees, high of 80. Hemet, Stephen Luker. 72 will be your high today. Cloudy conditions. And then, like I said, John Emmanuel Ramos, Henderson, and Makati City, 79 degrees. Rains, of course, because it rains every fucking day. And then Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Dunkin' Dad, 57 degrees, high of 60. How about Montgomery, Alabama, the home of the biscuits, 64 degrees, high of 68, low of 39. And Germantown, Jesse Burns, my brother from another mother, Wisconsin, 58 degrees, high of 63, low of 34. And Orchard Park, Pat Busey's Buffalo Bills, 53 degrees, high of 55, low of 33. And that's enough. There's your weather report. I just felt like doing it. Haven't done for a while. I'm going to play pickleball. Have a great day. Oh, and by the way, watch the documentary tonight if you get a chance about the World Series. The day the World Series stopped. Super cool. I'm going to make my kids watch it tonight. So highly recommend it for anyone who has not seen it. It's an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on that. That's it. See ya!